Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website and now an online store. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TWiST10. And by New Relic. Visit newrelic.com/twist and see why thousands of developers worldwide don't deploy without it. And Amazon Web Services. The fastest growing, hottest startups build their businesses on Amazon Web Services. Learn more at aws.amazon.com/startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. But funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
And you're in for a real treat. Aaron Levie is here with me, the co-founder of Box and CEO. Hey, what's up, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How many comedians are writing your Twitter account? I hear it's like you've got Chris Rock and Chappelle, and I mean, these tweets are amazing.
They're actually more B-grade comedians doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they're full-time employees of Box with stock options?
Part-time and no stock. More they're contractors.
No, in all honesty, are you writing your tweet? I mean, how many people follow Aaron's tweets? Like everybody. I mean, they're hysterical. Are you writing all of these tweets? Do you have help?
Like drawing them or what?
Do you have help? I mean, you're a funny guy.
Okay, thank you.
But these tweets are amazing.
Wow, really?
On a very regular,
consistent basis. People in tech have just really low standards is the issue.
It is true. It is true.
This is, that's
well, see, I think that now you've convinced me you're writing it. I mean, you're good on your feet. Do you have like some background in theater or writing or comedy?
Yeah, so no, I don't.
So the benchmark is just low.
What's that?
So the benchmark
is? It really is just very low. And I grew up with a lot of Woody Allen. And, however that gets infused into your childhood, I have no idea.
Well, they're absolutely fantastic and hysterical. Box is just crushing it. It's been quite a journey. Explain to everybody what Box is and how many people are using it today.
Yeah,
to get that out of the way.
So what we do at Box is we help businesses store, share, manage their information in the cloud. Has anyone ever used Microsoft SharePoint? Okay, all right. So it's basically the exact opposite of SharePoint. So it's meant to be simple and easy to use, and it's cost effective, and that's sort of what we do. So we tried to build a product that people can change how they work and change how they share information with.
And it was originally Box.net, but now you have Box.com.
We acquired Box.com a couple years ago and sort of fully rebranded the company since then.
So it's just Box now.
Yep.
But what people may not know, almost the majority of users, or getting close to the majority of users, or an equal number, are using mobile.
Yes. Yeah, we have about 40 to 50% of all of our activity on mobile. So, and mobile actually ended up being the real catalyst for why we are even relevant in the enterprise. When we started the company, mobile was basically a Palm Treo or Kyocera flip phone or something like that. And
I missed the Kyocera.
You did? Yeah. Well, you missed them?
I missed them, yeah. Although I did run into them at the store. They make ceramic knives as well.
Okay, got it. And probably like refrigerators or something.
They do make, literally, I have a Kyocera serrated orange knife. It's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So so I guess that's where they pivoted to. But the back in 05 and 06 and 04, actually, when we sort of started thinking about Box, that was sort of best in class for mobile, and so we defined our company really with the vision of letting you get to your files and getting to your information from any device and any kind of browser. But we didn't really know what mobile really would mean in the long run. We were actually building a WAP, a way to get like your files over WAP, and it was a horrible experience. Imagine viewing a PowerPoint file like in just pure text form, and that's like basically what we were thinking of as mobile. And what we did was we just kind of kept that, building the platform and building the kind of core foundation. And then all of a sudden one day the iPhone showed up, and then the iPad showed up, and it just transformed all of the technology that enterprises were using, and thus a whole new sort of IT stack was required for most enterprises to run their business. And so it's been an amazing kind of boon for us, and I think most of the enterprise software industry, for those at least who have kind of taken advantage of that.
How much of the software resources, your firepower, is going towards mobile today?
So it's you know, classically with any one of these companies, you know, most of our investment is on the back end and creating a set of services that then mobile can leverage. So if you look at it as a percentage of our engineers, maybe only something like, you know, 15%, including engineering, design, and product, are actually building mobile interfaces, which I think more than anything is probably a testament to the leverage that you get out of mobile development. But most of our engineering effort are going to the back end core, you know, services that get leveraged by our desktop clients, our mobile clients, our browser products, and that's just feeding the kind of innovation that then the mobile guys can go do.
How do you look at Windows 8 as a platform and supporting it versus iOS and Android? Because obviously you're very big in the enterprise. Windows 8 still, you know, the majority of enterprise customers.
Well, not Windows 8.
Windows is.
Yes, Windows is. You know, interestingly, about all you can do with Windows 8 is look at it. It's sort of the thing that we're paying attention to, watching how traction is kind of, you know, emerging. And we would love for there to be, you know, 3 major platforms. And the business like ours, and I think most startups, you gain leverage by there being fragmentation in the marketplace, because any one of your, you know, traditional incumbents can go support their platform very deeply, but they can't support all of the platforms kind of in a consistent way. So we actually benefit from there being multiple operating systems that all have, you know, fairly significant success. And so we're preferring that there are 3 major players, but you know, right now Windows 8 is you know, trailing, you know, pretty massively behind iOS and Android in the enterprise.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us for this amazing episode of This Week in Startups, and I want to thank our partner New Relic. New Relic makes your web and mobile apps faster and more reliable. Now, they do this through monitoring your server resources, of course, but that's been done for a long time. What I really love about what they do is code-level app performance and real user experience. That's right, like how your user is experiencing your app, how the code is affecting your app. That's what they tell you. And I get an email every week from all my different companies, whether it's Inside or Launch or Mahalo or This Week in Startups, and I see how our servers are doing. I see uptime. I see what the delays are. I see how long the pages take to load. Now listen, I'm the CEO, I got CTOs, I got technical people, but I need to be in the loop on these things. And just that one email creates such great positive discussion inside my organizations to make our products faster and more stable. And let me tell you something, New Relic is tearing it up. They have 40,000 customers. Everybody's talking about them. Just a tremendous startup with a great team. And they have clients like Skullcandy or Spotify, Nike, you may have heard of them, Zillow, and Vonage. They're just a tremendously great startup themselves, and they really care about what they do, and they're laser-like focused on performance. And their apps are absolutely wonderful. I give it my highest rating. I use it myself. And one of the great things you can do, and here, by the way, you can see it on my screen if you're on the video. This is the browser page load time. And you can see your app server response. You can see whether it's the web application or the network or the page rendering taking the time. These are all very critical to understand. And if you're a non-technical person, they present it in a way that you can actually understand it and have a credible conversation with your tech team, which is important. And of course, here's the server stuff. Everybody's seen the server load stuff, but it is important to see the disk utilization, your physical memory. This way, when your CTO or your DevOps person says, hey, we need more memory. Hey, the CPUs aren't working, or we need to upgrade to, you know, different disk drives or something, you can get right in there and do it. One of the great things about New Relic is they understand the value of the This Week in Startups audience, and you guys are very important to them. If you go to newrelic.com/twist, newrelic.com/twist, and it's RELIC.com/twist, you will get a free This Week in Startup shirt. You can see it on my screen there. It's gorgeous. And no credit card required. So just sign up, get the t-shirt, and check out the great product that New Relic makes. Thank you so much. Thank you at New Relic on your Twitter account. Thank you so much, New Relic. Let's get back to the program.
Where do you think the desktop is headed? I just got a Chrome Pixel. I don't know if you know this device, or if you've used a Chromebook. But
yeah, well, actually, the only time I've seen the Chrome Pixel was at Google, but they knew how to use it, you know, really well. It was really good.
Yeah, so. It's a pretty amazing machine.
Really,
it's incredibly fast.
Yep.
But it has only one app.
Yep.
Yeah, which is Chrome.
Right. Kind of clever how they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think of sort of life in the browser as it is,
yes.
and this sort of paradigm? Is this going to work? Is it naive? What do you think? And also, how do you reconcile Google having a Chrome OS over here and making laptops, and then Android over here making netbooks with Android, and
Yeah.
the glasses are Android, the watch will be
I
Android.
brought the glasses, actually.
You did?
Yeah, I thought maybe I'll wear them for the duration of this conversation.
I mean-
the future is actually to have a microphone and Google Glass at the same time, and then you're just always looking like you're in a flight simulator. So
Yeah.
so this will be.
Or
pretty
this
good.
could be like an infomercial.
Yes, for like some weird like back product or something.
Exactly.
Okay. So or like like a posture tool. So we I think this is not, they're not even on, so I'm just gonna put them aside. The battery died like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't
How
know.
long does the battery last on those things? I hear like literally.
45 minutes usually.
Are you kidding?
I don't know. Maybe I got like a broken version or something. It's like I take one picture and it powers down, so it has some work on the battery side. I think they need some of those whatever the blue, what was it, blue light LED or Bluetooth low energy or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, they need some of
Well,
those
what do you think the
batteries.
future of that is? I mean, I'm trying to
Of
figure out
Google
what
Glass,
questions
or
I've
I
asked.
can answer your last question.
Yeah,
first,
let's
if
go
you'd
to the
like.
last question. Yeah.
So, I think I sort of oscillate personally. In 07 or 06, I would have said, okay, the browser is the future. The operating system should just be a browser, and every sort of service will just be delivered as effectively an application in that browser, and we'll just have lots of tabs. And that makes sense. Like most of my computing, most of the computing that we see in our own company are just a bunch of tabs of Salesforce.com or Zendesk or Zuora or Box or NetSuite, and when we're living basically in the cloud for the most part. But then all of a sudden you have mobile devices that have incredibly rich experiences with native applications, and that's a completely contradictory trend and kind of technology paradigm. One is sort of the network computer, which is everything gets delivered. None of the compute is done locally. And then now we have these mobile devices, which is sort of the network computer plus local native software that is doing more powerful things to your experience. And trying to predict which one of these things wins out is a completely futile exercise. I think we'll see where the market generally goes, and we'll make sure we're building our architecture to support whatever the future ends up being. And we actually we see many advantages in both takes, and at least for the next 5 years, it's going to be both of these. And we certainly don't know which one will kind of hold out as the primary way of doing things.
So how many platforms do you actually support today?
Probably if you break it out, maybe 8 or so. Because
Android, iOS,
Windows 8,
Windows 8,
Windows Desktop, Mac Desktop, and browser, and
2 or 3 browsers.
We've dabbled in the BlackBerry world.
Sure.
Clearly that is not going to be one of our big investment areas going forward.
Yeah.
But that we still have to support it, and kind of all of our current customers that are using it.
And so, what about wearables and glass? We did hear American Airlines was on yesterday with a lot of ideas around enterprise use of these products. Walking through planes and finding, knowing who's in what seat and all this kind of stuff. Or knowing where the luggage is and seeing luggage and scanning it, and not having to have the big thing on your side to scan it. Is there going to be an application? Is this going to reach, the office-style users, the suite of Excel and Word, and as it were?
Well, I think that the interesting thing about broadly mobile is, and we've seen this in the enterprise, and I think it's hard to, in Silicon Valley, we don't have a really good sense for this because most of our work gets done at a computer, at a laptop, on a desk, maybe in a cafe or whatever, but like most of our work is not fundamentally sort of away from an office-like environment. And so we sort of lose, sort of the context that actually the vast majority of work done around the world is not done at a desktop computer in an office. And what mobile and wearables kind of, very broadly do is they bring computing to all of those other work environments. And that's been an amazing shift for the enterprise. And actually, I think it's wildly underrepresented in Silicon Valley in terms of the investments happening, which is this potential to take sort of IT and enterprise software and bring that to the next billion or so people that are only going to use mobile computing. And that's a massive opportunity that nobody's really modeled out the full potential of. But with things like Microsoft Office and your Oracle Financials or whatever, the total addressable market for those applications were generally sort of 300, 400, 500, 600 million people globally, because that was just the PC market, so basically anybody who worked off of a PC. But with 1.5 billion or so mobile workers, you now have basically tripled, doubled to tripled the amount of people that can now use technology to do their job. So, a couple examples are you have, the ones that we always talk about are the doctor who's pulling out an iPad and sees medical images or all of the sort of medical procedures that they can get to on demand. The ones we don't talk about as much is, I'm a nuclear plant operator, and now I have all my manuals of like how to run this nuclear plant that used to be printed out. Or I'm a pilot, and now I have all of my flight information on an iPad. Or I'm a retail worker, and I have all of the product information on a mobile device. So all of a sudden we have all of those use cases which are now being solved. And then wearables, it's all we can really do is sort of potentially sort of postulate what might happen, but the idea of sort of a hands-free computing model makes sense in some environments, right? So if you were doing a lot of service work, a lot of potentially healthcare, manufacturing, scenarios where you don't want to be interacting with a computer, but you want some either information coming in or going back somewhere else. All of those scenarios do make sense. I just think in our personal lives, over dinner, we're probably not going to be wearing these things anytime soon.
And creation, you talked about sort of input, output with devices, wearables, smartphones. Creation of content, which is a big part of what you support, not just the passive reading of it, is extremely challenging on smartphones. And nobody seems to have gotten that right. Do you see anybody making awesome creation tools for iPad, for iPhone?
Yeah.
Who do you respect?
Well, I think that probably a majority or a very healthy percentage of people here are using Evernote as an example.
Sure.
And
how many people use Evernote in the room?
Okay.
Wow.
So that was,
almost everybody.
So and if you look at products like Quip as an example, there is definitely a movement towards. So this is the classic thing, right? So any major technology paradigm change. At first, we sort of look at the new set of tools and we look at the new set of devices and we try and figure out how do we translate the applications that we used to use to those new platforms.
Yeah, how does Excel work on an iPad?
And that's our lens, is like how do we make this really rich PowerPoint file work really well, and how do we do PowerPoint file creation on iPads, because that's what we expect to have to go and present. And then that is happening before sort of these devices and these platforms are fully penetrated and very ubiquitous, because we're sort of still using them we're still using our traditional technology as a crutch to those new tools. What we think a lot about, and we can afford to because our horizon's fairly long in terms of what we're trying to build, is we try and think about, well, imagine a world where you did most of your information work, where you did most of your collaboration, where you did most of your creation and sharing of information on a mobile device. What would the tools need to be that would be built for that world? And what are the things that no longer are relevant for that new way of computing? And so when you look at, just like as an example, when we launched a product 3 weeks ago called Box Notes, which is exactly like this, we looked at this space and we said, well, word processing kept innovating on the dimension of richness of the product. If you actually go click every tab in the Microsoft Word ribbon, you get like 3 pages worth of tabs that are all rows of functionality you'll never touch. Yeah. And all of the innovation went on the dimension of going richer and richer and richer on the editor and the functionality on that experience. And then all of a sudden a mobile device comes around, and none of those features make any sense for a mobile environment.
You're not doing mail merge on your phone.
You're not doing mail merge, and believe me, there are things way, way deeper and weirder than mail merge.
Macros.
Yes, well, macros, and I'm more talking about Word, but on the Excel side, macros or whatever on Word, smart art, and just like crazy fonts and crazy ways of building like 3D tables and stuff that you'll never use. And on mobile, what you care about is actually velocity. You care about how quickly can I share an idea to somebody else. I'm on my mobile device. I want to get through as much work as possible. I want to be able to share whatever knowledge is from the meeting that I'm in. And the brand new dimension is speed, right? So on our desktop it was richness, and now it's speed. So all of a sudden, when you think about speed, you think about communication products, you think about instant messenger, you think about email, and so what we've done with Box Notes is we've said, we'll take the concept, the canvas that you get with word processing tools, and apply that in a much sort of more velocity-oriented medium and much more sort of social medium, which is mobile, and figure out what kind of comes out of that. And so that's one example of what we think that the trend is becoming. There's products like Paper that do that for presentations, and there's just a lot of ways where we have to go rebuild the next set of tools that people are going to use. And that's the big opportunities, because you have $280 billion, $290 billion in enterprise software spend, and about 95% of that is on the desktop in the legacy model. So you're going to have hundreds of billions of dollars of sort of market and budget be created for these new applications, and that's the big opportunity in the space.
So should we look at Box as an application layer company now? Because I mean, people previously said, oh, well, it's like a Dropbox competitor, it's a Google Drive competitor, but now it's really the application level is...
We prefer to think of Dropbox as a Box competitor, but that's...
Right, of course.
Okay, yes.
But the application layer is now where you're going to be spending a lot of your time?
Actually, interestingly, Box Notes is probably probably more of a one-off in terms of our investment into the end user side of the application, where most of our effort is spent towards building the platform. So we think there's a huge opportunity for 100,000 applications like Box Notes, and what's the architecture that they're going to need. Those types of applications going to need for this mobile cloud era, and that's going to be identity and search and storage and security and encryption and all of the things that you need to go build a robust enterprise application. Box Notes will be an example, a killer app, if you will, to help push the platform forward.
Right.
But we're not intending to go build a complete Office suite or build a bunch of other productivity solutions. We knocked off one horizontal category that we think can highlight how a lot of
maybe inspire a little bit.
Exactly, and really just continue this trend of we have an all new set of applications that we're going to use in the workplace, and they're going to look very different than they did 10 years ago.
Let's talk.
Oh, fantastic. What a great episode we're having, and it's just fantastic for me to read a partner message from my friends at Squarespace. Squarespace is a wonderful, wonderful product that helps you create exceptional looking sites. We all have this problem in our lives. Our family, our friends, coworkers, oh, I need to get a website popped up now. It has to look beautiful. It has to work on mobile, and it has to support e-commerce, and it has to support this, and it has to have a calendar. And you know what? You don't know where to go. You don't know where to point people to get these things done. At this late date, we're almost 2 decades into the internet as a commercial phenomenon, and it's been hard to find a place to direct people where you know they're going to have a great experience creating a website. I can tell you 100% that Squarespace is the best place for you to send people. They have 24-hour support. It's easy to use. It's all drag and drop. Non-technical people can absolutely dominate in this software. It works perfect. My teams use it at launch, at This Week in Startups, and at Inside.com, which is coming out in another month. They do commerce now, which is amazing. You used to have to go use these third-party software and spend another $10,000, $20,000 setting up your e-commerce engine. No more. It's included in the prices at Squarespace. And by the way, Squarespace is only like $8, $10 a month. It's super affordable and easy to use. Here's Truth and Lies, a beautiful website. And then here is another one, Mola? I don't know how to pronounce these things. Anyway, beautiful, and that's all you need to know. And when you look at these gorgeous websites, what you'll find is when you look at them on your iPad or your iPhone, they look perfect as well. So go ahead and tell your friends to use Squarespace and use the code TWiST10. That's after you decide to do the free trial. So just start the free trial, and then when they say, hey, do you want to keep the product? Use the code TWiST, TWiST, and 10. TWiST10, TWiST10. Squarespace is everything you need to create an exceptional website. And I, Jason Calacanis, yes, the @Jason on Twitter, give it my highest recommendation. Literally, I have dozens of people who've used it and told me, thank you so much for the recommendation. And they've been a long-term supporter of This Week in Startups, which means when you get back on Twitter, say thank you at Squarespace for supporting @TWI Startups. Thank you at Squarespace. For me, Jason Calacanis. Let's get back to the program.
Let's talk about the cloud.
Yes.
In terms of NSA.
That's what we've been talking about.
Well, yes,
okay.
But let's talk about it in terms of the NSA, Snowden, Prism.
Oh, that cloud. Okay.
An internal cloud versus external cloud.
Yes.
Because now it seems people feel the security issues are getting more pronounced, privacy issues, et cetera, security, encryption, backdoors, et cetera.
Yeah.
So are people going to basically build private clouds and use companies like yours to enable the building of private clouds? Do you do that currently?
We don't do anything that probably you would consider private cloud. I mean, we let you certainly synchronize your data locally and to the cloud.
Right.
So there's sort of that kind of bidirectional nature to our service, but we don't say you can go run Box on premise inside your data center.
Is that something you're considering? Is that something, because I keep hearing people talking about that, like maybe with all this, stuff that's going on and privacy issues and hacking, et cetera, that maybe it's time to rethink the cloud. What's your position on that? You think that's a passing phase? Do you think it's
We're not advocating people rethink the cloud right now.
Yeah.
I think that cloud and mobile sort of is the ultimate paradigm. I think it'll be hard to have something that truly surpasses that for quite some time. We invest disproportionately in the security and privacy and protection of customer data, and we stand up to every possible measure in this industry that our customers can get around, and that's what helps our customers feel a lot more confident about where their data goes. Over the long run, you might see us make moves to add further protections or further sort of control of how data gets managed from a legal standpoint. But I don't think we'll be sort of trying to go deep in the on-premise world.
And in terms of encryption and actual security of data, when you see the government can crack certain levels of encryption, backdoors being put in, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, we're not sort of pro backdoors.
Right.
So, I think, it's interesting. I actually I'm a little bit more pragmatic about the encryption cracking thing. I think that on one hand, we sort of want our government, and I don't mean government in the blanket sense, I meant in the sense of being protected. We do want them to stay ahead of some of the technology curve that's out there. But, lots of people have different opinions about that. But, to some extent, I'm a little bit shocked about what people thought the NSA was actually doing. Like, what are those tens of thousands of people doing, if not that? So, this is just not that surprising of a revelation. Certainly, any backdoor stuff, which unfortunately has never been confirmed by any of the companies, so it's hard to talk about. And we weren't involved, so I don't know, kind of specifically about that. We're obviously not, I don't think that's a good thing.
And Google and their sort of enterprise push with Google Apps, how do you perceive them as competitor and their seriousness about enterprise? I'm hearing a lot about, schools embracing Chromebooks and embracing Google Apps. And
I think the scary thing about Google is probably that they're sort of, nihilists around the enterprise. They don't actually care about the business model or the revenue. They just say, hey, here's free applications, and we're going to go attack Microsoft, without really ultimately caring a lot about the sort of winning in that space. So I think they're doing an amazing thing on the education front. We see them in a lot of small and medium businesses, but they're not necessarily trying to go aggressively and think about it as a core part of their business model. It's just we've done a lot of innovation. We want to make it available for more people.
Right, and it's also a way for them to taunt Microsoft.
Taunt or just take advantage of, they have an asymmetric, kind of advantage there, where Google doesn't make money on the enterprise side, they make money on the ad side. So if you can go create a free product that competes with one of your primary competitors' profit pools, that's a great way of disabling your competitor.
And
so it's scary from that sense.
Well, how do you, when you go into a business and they're sort of comparing, do they compare Google Apps to what you're offering, and how do you stack up and how do you beat them?
We try and work in a complementary way with Google. So usually, Docs and Drive are compared against Box on the low end of the market. So if you're a 5 or 10 or 50 person business, if you are a major financial services company or this nuclear energy company or a pharmaceutical company, the set of processes you need around your content is going to be very different, and that's where we've invested our time and energy, as opposed to Google, which is going to more build purely horizontal, consumer grade, in a good way and a bad way from an enterprise standpoint, technology.
And price.
Yeah.
And you guys have really cut the cost of a lot of these services. Where is price heading in these cloud services? Because it feels like every month I see you guys double the amount of storage for free.
Yep.
Although it doesn't seem, Dropbox doesn't seem to respond to that. They still give, I think, 2 gigs for 2 gigs free. And I don't know what you guys are up to now, but Microsoft,
10.
You're up to 10.
Yes, 5 times.
5 times.
5 times the space.
And what gives you the ability to do it? You convert higher?
Well, two things. Our business model is very different.
Yeah.
That's one of the nuances of this space. I mean, because we go sell to enterprises, we can afford to give out more for the end user. It's kind of counterintuitive. But we actually have, we try and compete more on the end user side because we actually can go in and sell to the CIO or the IT buyer. Ultimately, the more users there are in an organization. What we saw, and this is something that sort of drove our kind of quote-unquote pivot to the enterprise in 2007, was that the economics of the storage space were going to be very untenable for a startup to try and compete in the consumer side. So you'd eventually have Google, Apple, Microsoft, eventually giving infinite and sort of unlimited space. I mean, just if you track Moore's Law, and actually the storage curve isn't exactly Moore's Law, it's a little bit different, but roughly directionally the same as Moore's Law, which is that you see a doubling of sort of density of storage and a halving of cost every couple of years or so. So when we started...
Less or more than the 7 years?
Than the 2 year, than the 18 to 24 months?
Yeah.
It's
I'm sorry, that's
around the same rate.
Around the same
I don't know if there's, I think it averaged out roughly the same rate. So for instance, we store 15 times the amount of data in the same size hard drive than we did when we started the company 8 years ago. So we used to buy 300 gigabyte hard drives. Now we can get like 4.5 terabyte hard drives, or rather it was 200 gigabytes, and now it's 3 terabytes or whatever. So for the same dollars, we can store 15 times more data. And so we're just we're reflecting that in our product by giving more space away for customers, and then improving our business model by selling to more enterprises. But what we realized was on the consumer side, if you eventually have incumbents that give away this space for free because of the economics, they'll sell more devices or they'll sell more advertising. And as a startup just competing in the consumer space, you would have no additional business model that could fund that. So that's why we decided to move to the enterprise, and a lot of that is sort of proven out in the market on the economic side.
How big is the company now? It's grown.
It has grown. Yes.
What's the footprint like of the company? I mean,
so we're global.
Yeah.
We're mostly in Los Altos in San Francisco, but we have 75 people in London. We have another kind of 100 people spread out through the U.S. We have around 900 people total.
900 now.
Yeah. So
wow.
Just we got a very aggressive message there on that screen.
Yeah.
Good.
Rap.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you like what kind of rap?
Rap.
Okay.
Turkey.
Just start rapping. Okay.
Just absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Just freestyle.
We're going after what we think is going to be a tens of billions of dollar opportunity, and to do that in the enterprise space, you need to be able to reach every potential customer, which means a lot of sales, a lot of investment in kind of the go-to-market efforts.
Lots of opportunity for you to sell the company. We heard Mike McHugh from Flipboard say he's not a seller; he's trying to build a big legacy company. I get the sense you're in that same sort of camp. You're in this for the long haul. This is your last company?
Yes. This will be my first and last. So.
How old are you now?
28.
28.
Yeah, and by first I really mean my
What's
15th, but
yeah.
that's fine. The other 14 aren't worth talking about.
28, 900 people working for you. It's kind of mind-blowing with you.
With me, yeah.
It's kind of mind-blowing how fast this has grown, yeah?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we actually think it's growing too slowly, but we have a lot more to do.
You've raised a ton of money now. You're on the track to go public. What's the timeline on something like that?
I probably can't talk about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was nice of you to ask.
Yeah. It does seem to be like there's like 5 companies people are just talking about right now as like the most likely to IPO next. And you're on that short list with Uber and others.
We're happy to leave the list if you'd like.
No, I think that's absolutely fantastic. All right, listen, Aaron, continued success. Everybody.
Thanks, Jason.
What is your Twitter again? You're just Aaron? You first?
No, but you should follow @Aaron. I'm sure he's good.
He's a good guy, yeah.
But
what is your Twitter?
It's just my last name. So
okay,
yeah.
Levie.
It's a spelling test for everybody.
Yeah, Levie. It's hysterical.
Differently.
20 million. Over 20 million?
My last tweet wasn't so good, so don't base it off that one. Okay.
Well, you do get 3.
Okay.
You get 3 in the mini profile, so.
Oh, okay.
Were the 2 before that any good?
Yeah, go for the 2 before.
Okay. And 20 million total users right now?
Yes, and about 180,000 businesses actively using the service.
Fantastic. So. Continued success, Aaron.
Cool. Thanks a lot,
for
man.
coming out.
Good to see you.
Cool. Yeah, great
Take care.
seeing you, brother. Wow.